Welcome to our channel. I'm really glad you're here. I'm Mike with ZippySnap, and I hope we can craft a kinder, more creative world together. Today we're going to make an envelope. This is particularly helpful if you need to mail a letter or a card. On the difficulty meter, I'd give this a 1 out of 5. That means this is a super easy craft. You can download the craft template from zippysnap.com. The tools we're going to be using today are scissors and tape. So with these tools nearby, let's get to crafting. So here is our card. You see we have an inside and an outside. So it's only 2 pages. So once we have our templates here, we'll start with the first page. So we'll make a little bit of space. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut out the envelope. So we'll just start cutting right around these lines. Now remember to always ask permission to use scissors from an adult. I called my mom before I started, and she said I was authorized, so that's good. One thing I find helpful when we get into these corners here, you kind of see when you start to do it, is if you just start to do on the corners, these rounded corners, is just do little cuts, very little cuts up at with your scissors wide open. You have a little bit more control. Instead of doing like this big cut with your whole scissor, I like to do just kind of little cuts like this. And you can practice that because a little bit of movement a lot of times makes a big difference. But as always, any way you want to do it is of course fine and good. Everyone has different ways to do things, and that's perfectly fine. And it's actually good. If we all did things the same way, it'd be a very boring world. You'll see kind of on the straightaways, I might do a little bit longer cut, but whenever you get those curves, it's a good time to slow down, get your scissors, and just do these little shortcuts, kind of like I'm doing right here. I just like to do little short cuts kind of up towards the base of your scissors. You just have a little bit more control of the scissor that way. All right, we now have, this is the back of the envelope. So this is now our front of the envelope that we're going to work out, this template guide here. This one just has a few fold lines. You'll notice there's some lines within the area of the image background, and we don't want to cut those. These we want to keep because they're going to be useful for folding, as we have notated, but we're just going to cut the outside. So if you haven't already, if you want to take a guess as to what is this image we're looking at, what is that? What do you think that is? I'll give you a clue. It's yummy to eat. If you guessed ice cream, then you are correct. Ice cream is exactly what it is. Do you know what flavor of ice cream is the real question? It looks like a couple different flavors, doesn't it? If you can tell, it's kind of looks like vanilla, and it has some vanilla in it. But these darker points, that's definitely cookies and cream. That's what it is. Yum. So you see this corner again that I'm doing. I just slow down, and then that way do a little bit slower because these corners are very hard to do very quickly. And we'll cut this edge. So some of our other projects will have letters you can put in this envelope, or you could of course draw your own letter, and you can modify this any way you want. This is just a template guide that you can use anyhow you want to use it, any way you want to use it. There's not really a wrong way to craft. Just whatever brings you joy. But I'm sure someone receiving this would really enjoy getting this from you. Everyone likes getting a card in the mail. Now with email, you don't get as many cards. All right, we have this now cut out. So our next step is going to be, and it's fine if it's not perfect. Our next step is we're going to fold each of these edges. So I like to just line it up. And it doesn't have to be perfect or anything. Just trying to get a nice good fold. And My personal preference is to do the two smaller edges first, and then we'll come and do that bottom edge. But that's because of how I do this envelope. I like to do it a certain way. That's probably a little different than maybe some people like, but there's no wrong way, like I said. So now we have two sections. We have the front and the back. So you have a choice at this section. This is where you get to make it your own. So you can either put the back panel on top of these folded flaps, or you can put the back panel inside of the folded flaps, kind of like you're mailing the back, almost like that. And you'll notice there's a little bit of space, so you have to bring those top folds up here to the top. I like to personally do mine inside just because it's a little easier to tape. So biggest thing to remember is this is going to go to the post office, and the post office has an automatic machine that's going to sort them really quickly, all running through this machine. So since we're using tape, we don't want the tape to come off and get stuck in the machine, and then the whole machine gets sticky. So we need to make sure we do a really good job taping it. So I'm going to get my tape. So once you have your tape, I'm going to start with a little piece just to kind of center it up. That way it holds it in place. And I'm going to start in a corner. I like to choose one of these lower corners and just put one there. And then we'll do the same on this other side. That way I've lined this top edge up and I know it's in the right space. Now that I have those two pieces of tape, I'm going to try and get a longer piece of tape. And this is just how I like to do it. I didn't quite get it long enough, but I want to make sure there's no unfolded edges, no untaped edges. Because if there's an untaped edge, it might come off in the sorting machine that the Postal Service uses. So we don't really want to have an untaped edge. Now once you get up to the top here, this fold is going to cover it, so it doesn't have to cover the very, very top. And tape, you can always just stick more tape on tape. That's my feelings on it, because tape is self-adhesive. And adhesive just means it's sticky. So it can stick to itself. And then since we have this fold up here, I'm just going to do one piece here. And you can see I'm just going to fold it back over to the front. So if you ever go a little too long on your tape, you just can fold it right over the front. Nothing wrong with that. You just want to make sure that there's not a sticky side left on there. So you kind of feel it. And that is our envelope. And you can put a card in it and tape it. Thank you so much for crafting with me today. I hope it brought you joy and helped your creativity grow. Always remember, you matter and you are valued. I look forward to creating our next craft together very soon. Goodbye.